Hi everyone, welcome back to another podcast with myself, Letia, and my beautiful yin to my yang, Nikki. We are today just running through sales strategies that really work. And between myself and Nikki, we come with roughly a 36, 37 years of sales experience, and it's absolutely our passion. So we'd love to, deep dive a little bit more. Just a brief background about myself. So I am a client success manager at VA Central. I have been part of VA Central for about 4 years, part of the main team for roughly two. And we look after the clients and make sure, that they dissect their business needs, focus on their work-life balance, and just improve their businesses overall. And then my beautiful colleague, I'm going to hand the floor to her so she can just tell you guys a little bit more about who she is.
Yeah, well, my story sounds exactly the same as yours, Latia. And you're also, by the way, revealing our age there very politely
You're
by the
all.
amount of years of experience we have. But also, same story. I mean, I also started at VS Central 4 years ago and been working with our clients in the UK for 2 years now. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Absolutely amazing journey. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now. Wouldn't leave what I'm doing now for anything else either. Like very, very much in love with what we do. Anyways, so let's jump in. So do you actually think that traditional sales techniques still hold water in today's digital world? So first up, we're going to talk more about building trust, the keystone of sales. Trust is one of the key aspects when it comes to building relationships with your clients. If you are not having a transparent, open relationship with your client, how far will you really go? A couple of controversial statements. And the first one is 78% of customers say authenticity is key to winning their business, yet only 15% find sales agents trustworthy. Where is the disconnect? When you work with salespeople or from personal experience, that they're really not transparent enough when it comes to the terms and conditions and the cons of working with them.
True.
Honesty is still the best policy. And I've had previous experiences, and I'm sure you've all had with a gym memberships in your life, where they always give you all the positives. But if something had to go wrong or you had to, cancel it for some other reason, what the processes would be. And they very much saw themselves as being there for you till your signatures on paper and then they disappear and everything kind of goes down the drain from there. So I always bring up whatever con or something negative there might be that would be concerning, but I ended with the positive note that I'm still there to support you. I'm being transparent and there's no hidden agenda towards my clients.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than signing a contract and then finding out at the later stage that you didn't read between the fine lines and then having some kind of issue and now you're stuck in that contract because you've signed it. So being transparent about that is extremely important. I agree with you. The fact that sales is quite a negative term. There's a negative connotation to it. And, it is because people think of sales as, okay, it's this person that's just going to try and smear things off on you and basically exploit you to get money from you. That's what you think if you think about sales. But um, that's why authenticity is so important. It's not about trying to make a sale with your prospect. If your prospect can see that you're genuinely interested in helping them and solving a problem that they have, that's ultimately what's actually going to make the sale for you. So having an interest in more than selling but rather helping, and a way you can do that is be also honest with prospects. If you see that someone doesn't really need your service, or it's not the right fit for them, or it's not the right time for them, then say
Yes.
that to them. Because if you're going to be honest with them, it's just going to mean actual more business for you in the future, rather than getting someone stuck into something that they don't really want or need.
When I talk about transparency, that's one thing I do mention to clients is you don't want to push them into a corner. I don't need them, they need me kind of thing. We are here to help them. In our situation, of course, to have a healthier work-life balance and grow their business and cut costs and things like that. But if I am looking at selling something and not helping them, I'm never going to succeed in my role. because you can sell to anyone. It's about people coming back to you and
Mm,
referring you. That's what's important.
true.
I actually have an example where trust was like broken for a second and then I had to regain it. And it was due to just a stupid technical difficulty where I was booked with a client and the host had to sign us in, but the host was off for the day and I couldn't get on the link and I had to phone and get the passwords and log it onto my
Sounds
computer.
like a
Long
nightmare.
story short, trying to get hold of the host and then also my client, I missed him with like a minute or two. And when I called back, he wasn't impressed. He was like, "Oh, I wasn't on the link. Um, there is no excuse. This is not how he wants to work." And I was honest with him. I said to him, "I am so sorry. This is literally what happened. I have learned through my mistake here, and this has made me 2% more tech savvy for future reference. And then if he just meets with me and sees my passion, I'm still here to help him. If he would give me the benefit of the doubt, I would appreciate it." And long story short, we had a great chat and we are friends today. And he's still my client and he sent his friends and we have an amazing working relationship. And I've always been blunt and honest with him. He will
Mm.
phone me for advice and say, "This is what I'm considering for VO, but this is where I am. Do you think it's worth my time now?" And I'd be like, "No, I think you need to grow this more. We'll get to that later. This is not important. You can still do that yourself. Let's first grow your finances and then look at the next thing." So again, perfect example where being as transparent as they come never ever shot me in the foot. It actually helped
And
me
also,
move forward.
just touching also on the fact that you were so authentic. You got into the meeting and you apologized and you were friendly and you just kind of opened up and said this was the situation. So, yeah, that is where 100% authenticity is much better than, making that sale. Yeah. So the next section we want to discuss is leveraging technology and AI in your CRM and what effect that had. So here's a statistic regarding that. Sales teams leveraging AI have seen a 35% increase in their sales. But the real question is here, does reliance on technology compromise the personal touch in sales, Letia?
It does affect your personal touch if you allow it to. So if you rely too much on ChatGPT, for example, to write your statuses or your posts or your content, it's going to come across as extremely generic because everyone's doing it. How I use it is I still write from my heart and with passion about what I want to talk about because I'm passionate about everything we discuss. And then I take advantage of technology or AI or ChatGPT by taking what I've written and putting it in there and saying, make it more relevant for LinkedIn, for example. Use the correct hashtags, use the correct emojis. And if you compare making it relevant to LinkedIn to making it relevant to Facebook, for example, you'll see such a big difference between the two posts. Facebook has way more emojis and a completely different approach where LinkedIn is more professional. And that's where I will leverage AI. But if you're going to rely on it too much, it can kind of shoot you in the foot and make you lazy. And people can see that you just as common as the guy down the road. You don't really stand out anymore. But if you use it correctly, it can definitely streamline your business more.
Yeah, I agree. I also think, it's very much dependent on the type of communication. So, I think inquiries are a great way to communicate via AI. Like, let's say, for example, it's a chatbot on your website and you've got AI having conversations there. It's a great first point. You just have to make sure the AI is trained up well and knows how to answer inquiries or objections as they come in. But then, if you are communicating with clients after recently having met with them, I don't think you should use automated AI conversations because you've had a conversation with them. So you really want to make it as personal as possible. Like if they said to you last week, it's their son's birthday, to then be able to say, "Oh, by the way, how was your son's birthday?" And to personalize communication. If you're just sending a template there, it could potentially, I wouldn't say it might hurt your sale, but it's not going to be as effective as if it were personalized.
Yeah.
Um, and then also, I think AI in CRMs is a great tool to use if you're trying to revolve or revive very old leads that have just been lying in your CRM that might be like a year old. So, I mean, if a lead's been lying there for a year and you want to have a conversation with the client, you're not exactly going to be touching with them on the talking points that you discussed a year ago. So it's going to be like a more template approach there. Like, do you still need this service, or can I still help you, or are you interested in picking this conversation back up? So I think it's dependent on where you use that communication.
Yeah, I think it still saves you time. What you mentioned now is if you have certain pipelines and they all kind of had the same interest and they're in a certain part of the journey, where you can use AI to build that template, but it still personalizes to each prospect individually. So it still looks like you were reaching out to Tom or to Peter because it personalizes their name. And if you can pull in all kinds of bits of relevant information, if you saved it in the right way, where you
True.
can add these trigger links. So it can still personalize it very much, but still make it very, very personal. But the downfall can come if there isn't the right setup for after that. So if
Mm,
your callback number or anything is then AI generated and there's not a specific person that can reach out to,
yeah.
that might kind of mess it up for you at the end of the day because it almost feels like the company doesn't care about you. And
Mm,
that's the you want. So how I would use it on a day to day, for example, is I try to phone as much as I can because I like that personal interaction with people. And then I'll actually resort to WhatsApp first, then to any other form of communication. And if they're too busy to communicate on there, I will resort to doing bulk emails or even individualized emails with ready built templates that still just saves the time of having to type it out every time. So still kind of streamlining my admin, but keeping it very personalized.
yeah, no, that's very true. That communication in terms of having a natural phone call. Well, I mean, they've got AI that's making phone calls now as well, and I'm sure they're working on it, and pretty soon they'll be able to have natural conversations. But for the time being, until that's being developed, if there's nothing as valuable as having a natural phone call with someone.
Actually tested a virtual call like that the other day with a client that I was speaking with, and based on what they do, it was relevant for their industry. Like banks and very if it's got more stiff industry related businesses can kind of use AI for that. And the call literally I answered, I spoke to the bot and the bot said, what was your interest? And I would answer and it would pick up certain keynotes and then answer me based on that. And by the third question, it asked me, would I like to speak to somebody in more detail about this? And as soon as I answered yes, the phone rang and the guy answered on the other side. So his phone rang and he could answer it. So that was really well put together. But again, I feel it's industry based. Working in property, the last thing you want to speak to is a robot when selling your home. It's a very emotional journey. So I don't always think it will work for every industry, but it's come really far. And another thing they mentioned to me that I found very interesting is because our phones can pick up our emotions, because we have cameras on everything, they have programmed AI in such a way already that AI can analyze your facial features and start figuring out based on how your eyes respond or you frown or your mouth movement, whether
Micro
you're
expressions.
angry, sad, yes, frustrated, and it responds in a form of empathy based on your facial expressions that it analyzes.
It's a scary,
Right.
scary world we live in.
All I can say about AI is it will never replace human touch, but if you're
Yeah.
not on the AI train,
Mm,
you're going to stay behind.
true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Anyways, question number three or topic number three is the closing techniques that work. So, closing strategies when it comes to having conversations. What ways would you approach in sales nowadays that really works? What questions should you ask? What questions shouldn't you ask? To start with that. So, this is something fun we've learned in the last year or so. There's just certain questions you shouldn't approach, and I can't for the life of me remember any of them.
Well, one thing we learned is not to answer questions that haven't been asked.
But also changing an open-ended question. So that's actually what I wanted to go to is it should never have a negative end when you ask a question, but you can have a response in like what prompted you to show interest in the first place? Like, where are you going with this?
Mm,
Not just are you still interested, or you always try and end it in such a way that they can answer it with a positive response. Because it's if somebody's busy, the fastest thing they're going to say is no, not now. But what
mm.
prompted you is, oh, I'm kind of busy, but I'm very busy, I need help. So
Okay.
it's about how you ask those questions, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, many sales professionals claim that if you are not always closing, you are not always selling. Next question, controversial question. So many sales professionals claim that if you're not always closing, you're not really selling. Nikki, truth or myth?
I think it's a myth. I think that if you look at a strategy used in networking, so when you're in a networking group, something that you're supposed to do is sell through them. So don't sell to the room, you want to sell through the room. So you're not just when you're meeting with a prospect, you shouldn't think just about making a sale to that one person, but actually to make a sale to their network of people. So you really want to drive across the value of your product. And if you're going to have that aggressive, I need to close the sale, otherwise, I'm not a good salesperson. I think what's going to happen is that you're going to have sales breath, and you're just going to come across in just genuine, and yeah, it's just not going to be a good look. Whereas if you come with the mindset of, I don't need to make a sale to this person today, but one thing this person's going to walk away with is the value of my product, then the chances of you making a sale either to them or through them is much bigger. So I don't think you should close every single call that you're on.
I couldn't agree more. It's not always about selling, but it's offering to help somebody. And there's been multiple occasions where people are interested in the service, but they might not be where they want to be in their journey, or they might not be financially ready to take on something extra. But by the info that you provide and the passion and the support, that already is enough to remind them about who you are.
Hmm.
And even though they might not be ready, and if their friend chats to them about a similar situation, they're going to say, oh, but you know, I spoke to Niki and Letia, and they gave me so much insight, and they actually told me that I'm not ready and that we should wait 6 months, but they might just be perfect for you right now. So,
Hmm.
yes, I totally agree with you. It's about building relationships. It's, again, we are not here to sell, we're here to help.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And then next topic is just regarding objections. So that's too expensive. Is that the end of the discussion or just the beginning?
Just the beginning. So, if prospective clients, that if they realize that what they are spending money on, regardless of what the price is, but at the end of the day, it's going to bring in more revenue, then it's worth every cent. So again, it's about dissecting their needs, showing them the value behind it. And if they use it correctly, any business that comes into a company, if you are going to take something that a supplier gives you to streamline your business more, and you listen to them and you use it correctly, it will pay for itself within the first couple of months. So the price is irrelevant. There's always that little triangle. If you want good and fast, it won't be cheap. If you want good and cheap, it won't be fast. That's always something that I kind of go back to. Like if clients even say to me, can I have it for less? I'm like, I can get you someone for less, but they're not going to be as fast and sufficient as a digital marketer at this rate, for example. So investing in your business, the more you put in, the more you get out at the end of the day.
Completely agree. I think that an objection isn't something to be afraid of. It's actually an opportunity to explain the value of your product. So if you see it as such, and you see it also as an opportunity to listen to the person that you're talking to, because an objection would come from fear. So they're actually communicating with you the fear they have if they had to enter into a contract with you. So now you have the opportunity to say, don't have this fear. This is why you don't have to fear that. And to rather stand beside them and look at the issue together with them, instead of, being the issue and saying, well, this and this and this and that reason, side with them, listen to them, explain to them that you understand where they're coming from, and then say, how that risk is going to be mitigated, or why it is not, it doesn't even have to be a fear in the first place. So, last statistic to discuss, Latia, is that top salespeople apparently spend 40% of their time preparing how to handle objections. So, my first response when reading that was like, I don't know if I'm a top salesperson because I definitely do not spend 40% of my time. I think it's a bit excessive. But I also think that 0% will affect your sales outcomes. I think it is important to spend time on objection handling and to handle that with, with your colleagues and to kind of have scripts or back and forth and to challenge each other with objections so that you can discuss how to handle objections when they do come, into play in a meeting that you're having or conversation that you're having with the sales prospect. But more than that, I think, I don't know, I wouldn't say 40%. What do you think?
No, not at all. I think based on the amount of years that we've been doing sales, you learn objections as you grow and develop. I know when you start out young and you're fresh, it's great, especially from an employer's perspective, if you get a team in place to have recorded conversations, like have a system that can record calls. Like Ring Central is what a lot of our clients use so that they can actually listen back to some of the conversations had, whether they were positive or negative, and give, constructive feedback,
Mm,
especially on the negative ones. But that's where development can help a lot. And then, yes, recording your meetings, looking back on them, sharing them with your colleagues so they can hear how you would approach something compared to them or how you would handle an objection compared to them. And I think that's what we do regularly anyways, because we are a close team. So communication within a sales team is extremely important.
hmm.
You don't really have to go and plan objections and go and study them. But the more you communicate with your team and what they went through and what you
True.
went through, the better you will be able to handle future objections.
Mm,
So yeah, I would definitely agree with you there that I don't spend 40% of my time on that. I would rather spend 40 of my percent of my time phoning more people than worrying about an objection.
true, true.
Okay, then lastly, just a couple of nice quotes. Um, kind of well-known sales experts or successful business people said the following. Winning isn't everything, but wanting to win is. By Vince Lombardi. And then you're not obligated to win. You're obligated to keep trying to do the best you can every day. I like that one.
A goal is a dream with a deadline from Napoleon Hill. And lastly, a good plan, violently executed now, is better than a perfect plan executed next week. George Patton, I feel like we live and breathe that
I wanted
philosophy.
to say, AKA Sanjay Gandhi, done
Yes.
beats perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so that's a wrap on sales strategies. If you would like to listen to more of our amazing podcast, please remember to like and subscribe.
Yeah, and make any suggestions if there's anything else you'd like us to discuss or any questions that you have. We really appreciate any comments or just interaction. And yeah, I guess, Latia, we'll see you next time.
Next time. Bye.
Bye.